Imagine having so much money that you could buy an entire country without even blinking. We're not talking about the billions of Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos. We're talking about a fortune that would make today's richest people look like absolute beggars. In the 14th century, there was a man who literally controlled the global gold market. When he traveled, he gave away gold so mindlessly that he accidentally caused hyperinflation and ruined the economy of the entire Middle East for over a decade. His name was Mansa Musa, and he was the richest man to ever walk this planet. Today's billionaires hide behind stock charts protected by armies of lawyers, and their lives are just boring meetings in glass skyscrapers. But what was life actually like for the richest man on Earth in a time when there were no banks, no internet, and power was measured by the number of swords in pure glowing gold? Let us discover the truth. When you think of medieval wealth, you probably picture a European king, a dirty castle, freezing stone walls, forever undercooked meat, and lice hidden under silk robes. Europe in the 14th century was a disaster. The Black Death was decimating cities, and rulers were begging for tiny loans from Italian bankers just to pay a handful of knights. There was no hygiene, no stability, no food. But on the other side of the world, in the heart of West Africa, existed the Mali Empire. That was the center of everything. Archaeologists and historians from Harvard University confirm Mali was responsible at the time for producing more than half of the entire world's supply of gold and salt. More than half. Mansa Musa was not just a king. He owned all of that land. Every single nugget of gold dug out of the ground automatically belonged to him. If a subject found a gold nugget, they had to hand it over. They were only allowed to keep the gold dust. Imagine that level of control. Modern governments can levy taxes. Musa owned the very foundation of the economy. So, what did his typical day actually look like? You wake up in a palace in Timbuktu. There is no European grayness here. The walls are covered in smooth white clay, and the ceilings are adorned with cedar wood brought from far away. You are not woken up by an alarm clock. You are woken up by a choir of several hundred servants waiting for a single nod of your head. Your breakfast looks nothing like medieval porridge. You eat fresh fruits, lamb seasoned with priceless saffron, and you drink pure water filtered through special royal clay vessels. Everything is served on dishes made of solid gold. Around noon, Musa would begin his royal court. And here we come to an element of power that is hard for us to grasp today. The ruler did not sit alone. He was surrounded by a court of thousands of people. The legendary historian Ibn Battuta, who traveled through those regions, recorded something incredible. When the king sat on his throne, in front of him stood 30 slaves imported from Turkey, holding shields of pure gold and swords with jewel-encrusted scabbards. Anyone who approached the king had to drop to their knee and sprinkle dust over their own head. Not out of fear of the whip, but out of absolute, almost religious respect for the immense power standing before them. But Musa did not spend his days counting coins. Wealth in the Middle Ages was not meant for investing in the stock market. It was used to build prestige. In the afternoons, the king spent his time with architects and scholars. He brought the best writers, lawyers, and mathematicians from Egypt and Granada. He paid them astronomical amounts of gold. Just so. They would live in his cities and establish universities. For him, true luxury was knowledge, and the awareness that his empire was the smartest place on the globe. And then comes the year 1324. A moment that was forever recorded in human history as the most extravagant display of wealth that has ever taken place. Musa decides to undertake the Hajj, the holy pilgrimage to Mecca, but the richest man in the world does not travel incognito. Imagine a caravan of 60,000 people. This was not a journey, it was a mobile city pushing through the brutal Sahara Desert. 12,000 of the king's private servants, each dressed in the most expensive Persian silk. Walking ahead of the king were 500 slaves, and each of them held a staff of solid gold weighing several kilograms. Behind them walked 80 camels, and each one carried 300 pounds of pure gold dust. When the caravan reached Cairo in Egypt, Musa began to simply give that gold away. He handed it to the poor, bought every single thing that caught his eye, and paid triple for souvenirs. He was so incredibly generous that suddenly there was too much gold in the market. The value of gold in Egypt and across the entire Middle East plummeted drastically. The market crashed for 12 whole years. One single man, using only his own pockets, caused a geopolitical crisis that took the region a decade to recover from. It is as if today someone walked into New York City and handed out so much cash that the dollar became completely worthless. But wealth has one fundamental flaw. It builds empires, but it can never buy time. After returning from his pilgrimage, Mansa Musa used his vast resources to transform Timbuktu into the world capital of science and learning. He built the legendary Jinguereberry Mosque, which still stands proud today. He created a university that attracted scholars from Asia and Europe. He had achieved absolutely everything. Yet, after his death in 1337, something happened that awaits every giant. His sons could not maintain such a massive legacy. Civil wars, invasions from neighbors, and finally, the shifting of trade routes caused the Mali Empire to shrink. A few centuries later, nothing was left of the richest country in the world except legends and mud structures slowly swallowed by the sands of the Sahara. Today, we spend our entire lives chasing success. We want to have more, buy more expensive things, and build our position in a system that forces us to work until we collapse. Mansa Musa had it all. He possessed gold whose value today cannot even be calculated by the world's best economists. And yet, his story teaches us something completely different. The gold vanished. The empire turned to dust. The only thing that truly survived him was not the wealth he threw away in Cairo, but the culture, the universities, and the knowledge he planted in the hearts of his people. He traded temporary greed for an eternal mark on history. Because at the end of the day, even if you have all the gold in this world, you wake up and you go to sleep as the exact same human being, with the exact same emptiness, which can only be filled by what we leave behind for others, not by the amount of metal in a vault.